Awesome. So first off, before just diving into the closing remarks, just wanted to thank everyone again for attending. I remember, I think it was 6 months ago, I put a Slack message in our marketing channel, like, hey, why don't we just host our own conference? Like, it's like the easiest thing in the world to just suddenly spin up and get going. But what's awesome about Carolina and Riley and our marketing team is that they took it, they saw that, and I think within 12 hours came up with an entire plan, found a venue within the next few weeks, got it all done, and so just wanted to give them a quick round of applause. Yeah. They make it look easy. They make it look easy. It's a ton of work. So yeah, thank you so much.
I think also just wanted to thank everyone that came out. I know a lot of you have traveled a long way for this, and we'll talk about this in the next couple of slides. But this journey is still very young. We're still all learning a lot together about developer portals and how to use them and what they mean and how to make the most of them. And a lot of that learning comes from you all, and so really appreciate everyone who came out today and made the time for it and traveled and spent so much time with us. So thank you again for everyone. Like, the conference wouldn't be the same without all of you. And so just a little bit touching on that just another second, this group is the future of thought leadership in what we're calling like the new developer experience. We're thinking about developer experience from everything from the theoretical foundations we started talking about this morning to the industry applications and the different outcomes we're looking for and engineering excellence and how all these things tie together. And this group here is going to be the future of thought leadership when it comes to new developer experience. And one day people are going to look at organizations and say, like, hey, if you're not investing in developer experience, like, I don't want to work here. Like, why would I come for work at a company that doesn't care about developer experience? And that's the future we're charting towards, and this group is the first step towards that. So thank you again for everyone who came out, and looking forward to it.
And I think one of the big themes that we heard through all the talks and even from the first talk that Ganesh was mentioning, right, is that developer experience, it's not just one metric or one prescriptive way of thinking about it, right? Every company has different initiatives that really revolve around this broader concept of engineering excellence. And I think one of the things that we've learned, especially as we've started to really invest in the IDP and seen this market grow over the past 5 years, is that we're still learning a lot about the different use cases that people have, about the different business outcomes that you can drive with an IDP. When we started the company, it wasn't even called internal developer portal. It was just these basic concepts about how developers should interact with the services that they own, and really the answer was spreadsheets or just information living in people's head for the most part. And I think over the last 5 years, what we've seen is developer experience is a lot more than just the way people feel about their work, but also revolves around reliability and security and compliance. And just in this last panel, we heard so much about how compliance is such a big focus and driving almost like this really objective way to talk about quality that hasn't existed before. And I think developer portals have enabled that conversation in a way that just hasn't existed. And so I think it's just really exciting to see how almost like every few months we learn a new use case that a customer has with the product. For example, one of the things I never thought we would actually help drive and enable is just even conversations about how engineers should onboard. Right? It's not even about the complexity that engineers who are already working at the company have to face, but even new engineers who join, how fast could they actually time to code and things like that. So it's just all these different metrics that have started to apply to developer portal, and I think we're still learning that as we've continued to invest in the market.
And I think this idea of there's still a lot of work to do because IDPs are the foundation. IDP, having a great developer portal is not the end state. Just like we said, engineering excellence is not the end state. The IDP is the foundation on which we're going to build all of this. And so investing in that foundation is the way to kickstart that path. Internal developer portals, we talked about this, Anish was just talking about this as well. We learned today that they enable this path to engineering excellence. And it comes in a lot of different forms, right? It's everything from streamlining developer self-service. How do we make it really easy for developers to do the right things, to enable their work quickly, how do we make sure that we are continuously monitoring our software from everything from compliance to quality to reliability to best practices across the board, and how do we turn data into action? I think that's the other thing as well, is not, are we just measuring things, or are we actually doing something about it? So bringing that, bridging that gap between here's what we know about the world and here's how we're going to do something about it. The internal developer portal is the way to unlock that future.
And one of the really interesting things, right, about a developer portal that it's not necessarily true for other tools is that the data inside of the portal isn't just valuable to one single person or one single persona. It's valuable to the engineer, whether it's a new engineer onboarding, you need to learn about the services on their team, or something breaks and I need to quickly understand the context about the services that are down. It's valuable to SRE and security engineers who need to enforce best practices, who are tired of using Confluence pages to try to enforce something as critical as a production readiness checklist or tracking a Log4j migration. And it's really useful for engineering executives who need to understand what are the areas of risk in the business from all these different verticals, and how do I actually track whether we're on track to hitting our productivity goals or hitting our migration targets, right? I think the developer portal is this unique place where it really is this home for all of engineering, and the data becomes valuable to even non-technical users, right? Like TPMs and product managers. I think we found that it's this unifying platform that traditionally hasn't existed for engineering in the same way it's existed for other functions, right? Sales has Salesforce, IT has ServiceNow, marketing has Marketo, but engineering has never had that platform that unites unites everyone involved and gives them a way to almost supercharge their work. And so I think that's really been a really interesting learning for us too.
And I think the other interesting thing is we've obviously learned a lot over the years about developer productivity and happiness and all these things, and we kicked off today's conference with that. But we find that there's still a lot to do to apply that in real life. There's still a lot more to learn, and so the work has just begun, and a lot more to do there. And so with that, I just wanted to quickly recap some of the talks. Obviously, you spent the last few hours. Hopefully, you've been able to go to most of the talks. We hope that you take away from today's conversations something that you can actually go back and adopt, right? At the end of the day, is we can sit here and talk about this stuff, and we don't want this to be a bunch of us up here pontificating about what developer experience should be, right? It's something you should actually take back, and what can you apply in your day-to-day? What can you take away from this and actually make those incremental improvements to your engineering organization? Whether it's starting from something like, hey, we don't even know what ownership looks like. Let's start there. Do you have a spreadsheet? How do you kill that? How do you drive engineering excellence across all these boards? And so I guess the question we want to leave you with is, what do you have today that is immediately actionable, right? I think one of the failure modes for conferences like this is there's so much information and it's so interesting and there's so many things you learn, but you go back and it's back to the day-to-day. And so I guess I would challenge everyone here to think about what is the one actionable thing that you can take out of this? What can you go back and incrementally improve, going back to that culture of continuous improvement? What does that take away from today? We learned about cognitive load balance. A lot of us talk about, do we reduce cognitive load? What is cognitive load? And it's not just about reducing cognitive load. It's really about, are we spending that load on things that are actually valuable, right? And so are we wasting time on things that can be automated, things that can be orchestrated away? And so are we spending that load on the right things? You're never going to remove load entirely. That's unreasonable. And so are you spending it on the right things? And so how can you use the IDP as a way to enable that future state, to rebalance load in the right places? Everything from infrastructures, code automation, self-service, ownership, incident management, all those kinds of things, using IDPs as a way to balance that cognitive load. The other thing, we started the whole conference today talking about this idea of community, people as the kind of beginning of the developer portal. And so how do you prioritize human time, right? How do you prioritize the actual energy that a person is contributing to a task? And so machine time is cheap, right? I mean, at the end of the day, things are getting cheaper and cheaper, machines are getting cheaper, but people are what make your business tick at the end of the day. And so are you spending people's time in the most valuable places? Can you automate away the things that are toil? Can you make them happier? Can you reduce bottlenecks for people? And so engineering excellence really depends on drilling down all the way to the people. Are you focusing on the things that actually matter? Data and metrics, of course, like we talked a lot about this today. Don't just collect data for the sake of data. Are you actually solving towards something? What questions are you trying to answer? What are you trying to improve? Do you know what is left to be improved? Can you drive human behavior using data? Like it's not just, data doesn't just tell you about the world, but it can help you make changes in the world. And so are you using data to actually drive behavior across the organization and create a culture that drives continuous feedback? And you should demand that from your organizations, right? We want a culture that is always continuously getting better. And so are you using data in service of creating a culture of continuous feedback? I'll talk about some of our announcements.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the really exciting things that we have that's actually already released is basically the ability to add custom metrics to engineering intelligence. So engineering intelligence is basically one of our products that allows you to track common productivity metrics and break that across different teams. You'll be able to now interlay that with any of the custom data that's already inside of Cortex. So being able to add any of the data that you have from any of the integrations you've added, so like Datadog to any of the custom data that's already inside of Cortex. So just really being able to expand from just the typical door metrics to metrics that your organization specifically cares about, which I think will be really powerful.
Workflow automation is now also in GA. You've probably seen the beta flag on that product if you're using Cortex for a while. That is now generally available. A lot more features and investment to come, of course, but exciting announcement for today. And finally, a little sneak preview of the redesign. Some of you may have seen this over the last couple of months, and so we have finalized that design. It is still being worked on, of course, and so really excited to start getting in the hands of people over the next couple of months.
And there's dark mode. So
as you can see.
Yeah. Thank you. It might be our most important feature, to be honest.
Not joking, I think Anish has been talking about dark mode for 5 years, and the company is 5 years old as of next week, and so literally from the very beginning, dark mode has been talked about, and we're finally getting there.
And last thing we just wanted to mention, so one of the things that, basically we have this program called our Engineering Excellence Bootcamp, and we started it a few months ago, and it was really born out of this conversation that I had with someone who was considering looking at different IDPs, and one of the things he was like, hey, I need 6 months, I need to go get all the resources to invest in this, it's going to take a lot of time to actually stand this up, and it got us thinking, well, why does it have to be that hard? Can we create a program that, within 3 weeks, you have a fully functioning IDP that's actually solving real business short-term goals and long-term goals and really setting you up for success in the long run? So we created this boot camp that's exactly 3 weeks long, and the first week is just around really automating and getting all of the data across all of your systems using our ML-based algorithm to basically figure out ownership for all services, which we've been able to get based on testing to 90-95% accuracy, which is pretty cool. And then the second week is really creating scorecards and workflows that map to short-term initiatives, whether that's a package version that you're trying to model or a security migration to a long-term production readiness checklist or operational review that you want to track. And then that third week is really around business value and how do we actually prove that this is going to generate an ROI for you as you roll this out long-term. We take usually 1 to 2 companies and partner with them every month. I think we have 1 spot available in November and in December. You can talk to any Cortex employee if you're interested in learning more. It's something we've really invested a lot in, and it's designed actually working with our own customers like Netflix and seeing how they've rolled out scorecards and operational reviews, and really we found success with that. And so we're super excited by it. Feel free to talk to any of us, and we can give you some more information as well.
Thank you so much. Networking happy hour right outside. Thank you again, everyone, for attending IDPCON. I gotta say, it's always scary when you host a conference for the first time. It was like, oh my God, is anyone gonna show up? And I showed up here this morning. I was telling people I showed up here this morning, and as an engineer before, I know something starting at 8:30 a.m. is pretty crazy. And when I showed up at 8:30 a.m., there's actually people out there like getting breakfast and starting to have conversations. I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be crazy. And it's really an honor that you guys spent the day with us today.
Yeah,
and I know I said
so
that, but really appreciate it. Thank you all so much for attending, and hope to see you out there at the happy hour.
Thank you
again.